The search for value, the ability to drive emotional loyalty, engagement, and a focus on the customer, these qualities are quite rare in the market today. Add in a passion for the employee and a commitment to listening to the guest, especially within the fast casual restaurant industry, and you may ask, what is this unicorn that you speak of? Well, the Date Night Pass, now in its second year, and the Club Applebee's program, you guessed it, it's Applebee's. I remember Applebee's from way back when I bartended during my time in Miami, Ohio, and I can tell you things sure have changed. Joining us today on the Leaders in Customer Loyalty podcast, the Brand Stories edition, is Vicki Hormann. She is the Executive Director of Off-Premise and CRM at Applebee's. Thank you very much, Vicki, for taking the time to talk with us today. How are you?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Doing well, thank you. Looking forward to this discussion. First off, for those who may not be familiar, can you give us a short introduction to Applebee's? How the company was started? What's the backstory?
Sure. Applebee's is a Americana favorite, if you will. We've been around for, I believe, over 45 years. We are the neighborhood grill and bar. I think that Applebee's is just a permanent establishment in so many neighborhoods. Applebee's is an amazing place to get together with friends and family and just enjoy a great meal, whether that's at an Applebee's or at home on your couch. We definitely love to bring people together over good food at a great value.
That's awesome. What about you? Can you tell us a little more about your role at the company? How did you get where you are today? Or any fun positions you had kind of leading up to this role?
Sure. So currently, I am, like you said, the executive director of off-premise and CRM at Applebee's, which means that I lead a team that drives all aspects of marketing, technology, and operations for our $1 billion off-premise business. And a large portion of that is our CRM program. I've been at Applebee's for 13 years, actually 13 years here in a couple of weeks. Started out in the field marketing position, and I guess before that, I've always just been in restaurants. My grandfather actually owned a bar and grill in Pittsburgh and came all the way up through high school and college working in restaurants and really just found a passion for the restaurant industry.
You're not a Steelers fan, are you?
No, I'm a Vikings fan because I'm in Minnesota, but the
Okay.
Steelers would probably be my second choice.
Oh, we might have to terminate this interview.
I know you're a Bengals guy then,
No, no,
right?
no, 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 no. I'm a Broncos
No?
fan, but yeah,
Okay.
yes, no Bengals. All right. So Applebee's announced, how I'll get that word right, the return of the date night pass for the second consecutive year. And I think you have 3,000 passes. They were distributed on Valentine's Day. If you let people know Valentine's Day, they can purchase them for $100 each, and through a random and exclusive drawing for people who are part of Applebee's loyalty program. Can you tell us a little bit more about the program, how it works, and why you brought it back for year two?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, last year in 2024 was our first year offering a date night pass. And we like to joke that there were two things in 2024 that broke the internet. It was the Taylor Swift concert tickets, if you remember that, and then the Applebee's date night pass. So in 2024, whenever we offered the date night pass, we sold out within minutes. And really showing this need and this want for our guests to have a set aside time for date night. And so we took some learnings from 2024 and brought back Date Night Pass this year with offering 3,000 date night passes to our Club Applebee's members exclusively, the opportunity to be entered into a drawing to be able to purchase one of these passes. Like you mentioned, for $100, our guests could purchase the card, which is valid for one date night per month, worth $50 every month for all of 2025.
Okay, excellent. So when you looked at the program last year, what did you see? Obviously, it was very successful, being able to get a $50 discount on food, every month for $100, especially in this environment where everyone's looking for value. What did you see in the program last year?
So last year, the date night pass was valid for a once a week date night. And so
Okay.
one of the things that we found was that our guests just live incredibly busy lifestyles, and finding the time to set aside a weekly date night was just a little bit overwhelming. So we're consistently listening to our guest feedback, and we took that feedback and decided that let's make the pass worth a little bit more for the monthly date night, but let's move it to monthly so that our guests can truly take that time to have a moment that matters in our restaurants once a month, where it's a little bit more digestible to be able to schedule that monthly date night as opposed to a weekly date night.
Okay. As mentioned, many brands right now, the customers are asking for more value, right? Kind of economic uncertainty in some situations. Many people, again, who are members of the 360, we meet and talk about different topics. And this search for value in the program is a pretty compelling topic right now. Is this something that you are seeing? And if so, does the date night pass and Club Applebee's help address some of this search for value?
Absolutely. Our guests are always searching for value. And at Applebee's, I think value and bringing people together over a great meal has always been part of our core. And so, Date Night Pass and providing that value to our Club Applebee's members is just baked into what we do. The value of the date night pass with $100 for $600 of value is extraordinary. So we definitely saw folks really coveting these passes and kind of clamoring for their opportunity to purchase one.
That's awesome.
And I think too, Mark, if we take that even a step further, that you had asked how that kind of relates to overall Club Applebee's. Club Applebee's is really positioned as a exclusive club. It is free to join, anyone can join, but that offers our guests the opportunity for exclusive perks and additional value outside of our value-driven promotions and our menu value that's already there.
No, that's awesome. The big push for exclusivity is something that we see a lot as well. We're actually just talking with a large retailer in the Pittsburgh area, makes jeans, and they put more and more focus on the program. They have a great organization. They do some very neat things with the program, but making that big push and driving exclusivity, being able to get the discounts, the offers, the special and unique offers is really a kind of where the market is going, and those that can enable that in a way that the customer understands they're seeing some pretty powerful results, and it sounds like you are as well.
Absolutely. And we find that our guests view value in a number of different ways. So I think value goes well beyond just discounts, and it's the opportunity to create interactions with our guests that are meaningful to our guests on that one-to-one level. So even we offered our Club Applebee's members an exclusive sneak peek at a new menu item that we launched earlier this year, and we saw quite a few of our Club Applebee's members take advantage of that and be the first to try our new Big Cluckin' Chicken Sandwich. We've recently wrapped up a Super Bowl sweepstakes, and we sent one lucky guest out of New York on an all expense paid trip to the Super Bowl this year.
Nice.
So we're finding that value goes beyond just discounts with our Club Applebee's members.
Absolutely. When you look at your customer loyalty strategy at Applebee's, how has it evolved during your time at Applebee's? What are you looking at different methods or different ways to engage the customer, and how do you see that going forward?
Absolutely. Traditionally, Club Applebee's has been a very linear email marketing program. We established Club Applebee's over 15 years ago, believe it or not, as pretty much just an email marketing program. And where we've evolved this to is a much more personalized and meaningful vehicle for our guests, like I said, with these exclusive perks and value that they're not able to receive outside of that club. I think that personalization is key and being very relevant to the guest. Whenever you think about just everybody's individual likes and wants and needs, there are things that just aren't relevant, right? So, Mark, if you like steak, then if I tell you about a brand new steak skillet that we have on the menu, it's going to be very appetizing to you. But if I don't eat red meat, it's completely irrelevant to me. So, at Club Applebee's and with our program, it's really about re, being relevant to our
Yep.
guests in ways that's meaningful, and then turning that interaction into transactions.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier being able to listen to and understand your customers. That's a big challenge for many brands, and they have more data than they ever had before, right? They have the CDP, they have their customer loyalty platforms, their post visit, say post transaction, scores, CSAT scores, NPS scores. So being able to really listen to understand what the customers truly want is a big challenge. But you mentioned that how you've developed the program from kind of a linear email program to a more robust program by listening to and understanding, but then developing the program in a manner that's conducive to the customer is great to hear.
Absolutely. And I think that to your point, there is so much data that is coming in around guest behavior and digital body language and digital footprints. And the challenge is how do you consume all of that data and turn it into meaningful interactions with the guest. And that is, I think, something that the industry is going to continue to be challenged with as we continue to receive all of this robust data on our guests.
Absolutely. You talked a little bit about personalization. That's another topic that's very relevant, obviously, for those who run customer loyalty programs. We actually have a quote unquote working group on it within Loyalty 360. It's very relevant. But being able to do it, as we mentioned, listening to, having the right technology, being able to truly action on it can be a kind of big challenge for many brands, right? And make sure the technology works, making sure that they have the organization that's behind it and bought in. So when you look at Applebee's, obviously you talked about your personalization approach. What's next for personalization at Applebee's, and are there challenges that you see with regard to personalization, either technology or organizational alignment, or how do you manage it?
So personalization is something that will continue to evolve. So the our guests' needs and what they feel is personal preference will continue to morph and the consumer expectations in general will continue to evolve. I think for us, from a personalization standpoint, there's opportunity to take that personalization outside of the digital space and how do we pull it into all of our touch points with our guest. You know, the airlines know if you like a window or an aisle. We should know in the restaurant industry if our guest likes a table or a booth. And we should be able to anticipate that and have that table ready for them whenever they walk into our restaurants. So I think it's about personal preference and really having that 360 view of our guest and being able to anticipate their needs and create that perfect experience for them, whether it's in our restaurant or on their couch.
No, yeah, again, this is a very interesting discussion because being able to access on that data, making sure you have the right zero-party data, the gamification pieces in place to get that, but then being able to action on it, right? Not only from a corporate perspective, but from a clienteling perspective, right? For that individual, how do you disseminate that information, pack it up, say, Mark likes steak. Mark, likes margaritas, whatever it may be, and they can use it in a way that quote unquote is germane to the customer, but also real. When it's not like, oh, I know you like margaritas. It says right here. So doing it in a way that can create engagement and also it's surprise the guest, right? If you do it in a certain way, it's very powerful. Has that emotive engagement, right? And it sounds like that's something you're focused on.
Absolutely. I think we have to gain the trust of our guests. Data is something very personal to each individual, and having our guests trust us with their data and the amount of personalization and preferences that they would like to see uh, within their experience is something that we have to build over time. And that comes with being reliable, that comes with using that data in ways that is meaningful to them and being able to action on it. So I think that the our guests' willingness to trust us with their preferences is something that is kind of that first step to getting to that 360 view.
Okay. There's a big discussion, as you're probably aware, about how customers are changing, talking about what their expectations are, how do you meet them. I think the step one is obviously understanding what the technology, sorry, what their preferences are, what they're telling you. But when you look at your customers, how do you feel your customers are changing at Applebee's or maybe in the fast casual dining industry as a whole?
So we find that Preferences are fairly generational, and there is a tech adoption curve that we see within each of those generations. And for us, it's really about meeting our guests where they are within that tech adoption and within that tech tolerance, if you will. So we find that our younger guests are very much more tech savvy and they actually enjoy placing their orders through different digital channels, whether that's through an AI system, whether it's on our app or our website. Whereas we find a lot of our older guests prefer speaking with a human or that they want that one-on-one interaction and less transactional. So we want to make sure that we're meeting our guests where they are and with the experience, again, that's personalized to them in a way that is not overwhelming to them.
You mentioned kind of preferences being able to action on it. How does the Club Applebee's and the date night pass address some of those personal preferences?
Well, the date night pass specifically is it definitely goes into and leans into our guests' busy schedule and setting aside that time for a date night, whether it's a date night with your spouse, with your significant other, maybe it's a date night with your child. It's really about bringing folks together and in those moments that matter to them and celebrating the occasion, whether that occasion is a birthday, a date night, maybe it's a Tuesday. Whatever occasion that our guest wants to celebrate, the date night pass is able to help them do that and give them a reason to do that.
That's awesome. Employee engagement, another big topic. You can do all the things you want from a marketing perspective, with the right message, right audience, right time. But person comes in and has a bad experience, that can be bad, or they don't know about the program. Getting people, getting that frontline individual, the server, the waiter, the bartender, to understand the program is a big challenge. And it seems like you guys are doing a great job with that. How are your employees trained or engaged with regarding the date night program, the Club Applebee's, or even personalization and empathy in general?
Our team members are absolutely amazing. They interact with our guests on a daily basis, and they really provide us with insight and with the overall ability to create those moments with our guest. We believe that our guest experience will never supersede our team member experience. So, for our team members to be engaged, to be happy, to be have an ease of their job and their ordering and just general knowledge of our guests and our programs is absolutely critical in the execution of whether it's date night pass, whether it's any of our other promotions, our America's Favorite boneless wings promotion or anything that we put in our restaurants. Our team members are that front line to our guest. So we make sure that our team members are knowledgeable, that they have appropriate training in place, again, in ways that speak to them and in ways that are appropriate for them to consume. And at the end of the day, our team members know our guests better than anyone, and they have that freedom within a framework to be able to provide a unparalleled level of hospitality to our guests, whether they're coming in for a date night or coming in for any other promotion.
You mentioned kind of preferences, kind of interests are generational. One of the things that we see a good deal as well, and another really hot topic in the industry is, engaging the younger audience. How do you engage them right? Brands find that it may be a little more difficult to get them into the loyalty program. But once you do get them into the loyalty program, they can be some of your best guests. They can be pretty significant advocates for you. Is that something that you're seeing with regard to engaging the younger generation? How are you navigating?
The younger generation is much more tech savvy. So there's a little bit more of an inclination to download an app or to join some sort of a loyalty program through that digital space. So we find that the younger generations, to your point, while it may be a little bit more difficult or a higher hurdle to get them into the club, once they're in Club Applebee's, we provide that value in ways that are not necessarily just the discount, like I spoke about. So it's finding those those moments within their lifestyle and within their digital ecosystem that matter to them, where Applebee's can play alongside what they're already doing and their lifestyle. And how do we fit into that as opposed to trying to get that younger generation to fit into a cookie cutter loyalty program for us?
Okay. Big discussion point topic, emotional loyalty. And what does emotional loyalty mean to Applebee's? Again, it's something very relevant. Brands are challenged with regard to how to measure it. They use kind of proxy scores often, NPS, CSAT. When you look at emotional loyalty, especially date night, right? Getting out of the house, getting away from the kids. Not that I have the opportunity to do that often, but if you do, that's emotional in and of itself.
Yep.
Um, when you look at emotional loyalty, what's that mean to Applebee's?
I love emotional loyalty. So I grew up going to Applebee's with my grandparents and my parents, and now my kids are doing the same thing. They're going to Applebee's with me, with my parents, with my husband's parents. So I feel that Applebee's already has this emotional loyalty built in through our generational equity. I mean, Mark, you mentioned that you have ties to Applebee's. We hear again and again stories from our guests that their first date night or their first date was at an Applebee's. We hear about them going to Applebee's with their parents. So we have this generational equity that's already the foundation of emotional loyalty with Applebee's. And we continue to lean into that and that nostalgia and that tradition of going to Applebee's with your family, with your friends, whether it's after the big football game, after a baseball game, with your grandparents, and leaning into that has already gotten us some emotional loyalty. And I think that that is just the beginning for Applebee's, and that will sustain for years and years to come.
Excellent. So when you look at the program, the date night program, the Club Applebee's, what are two or three things that you're most proud of?
I am most proud of the way that we have been able to innovate around personalization and relevancy with our guests. The date night pass is a great example of that, and just the overwhelming popularity of the date night pass. Like I mentioned earlier, we recently concluded a Super Bowl sweepstakes with our Club Applebee's members, where we gave away a trip to the Super Bowl, in addition to weekly prizes to numerous guests throughout the country with autograph swag from the NFL and other things that are relevant to them. So I'm really, really proud of the way that we have been able to take a loyalty program and find ways outside of just sending emails and push notifications and MMS texts that are relevant, which is very important. That is a
Right.
foundation of a loyalty club or an e-club program. But how we've been able to expand that into partnerships and into unique opportunities for our guests like date night.
Excellent. Well, you got through the main part. Now we have our wonderful quick fire questions. We like to keep these
Oh,
to one word or a short phrase response. So the first one is, what word or short phrase do you use to inspire others?
so I always tell my team that innovation happens in the unknown. And if we are not, or if everything we do is very easy and goes exactly to plan, we're not pushing enough boundaries.
Okay. What's the least favorite word that others use that you're not a big fan of?
Utilize.
There
Nobody
you go.
says use anymore.
Okay, very good point. What's your favorite food? Or unless you, what's your favorite entree or food dish at Applebee's?
Chicken fajita roll up.
There we
Has
go.
been for decades. Absolutely love it.
And what excites you at work?
My team. They are absolutely amazing and always pushing to be better.
Okay. What do you find tiresome at home or at work?
I have a 10 and 11-year-old girls, so it is very tiresome running them and keeping up with their social lives and sport lives.
There you go. Is there a book that you've read or you like to read that you recommend to your colleagues?
So I love the area where technology meets hospitality. So Marty Kagan's Inspired and Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara.
Okay. Is there a profession other than the one you're currently in, if you had to choose that you may like to try?
I absolutely love what I do and could not see myself doing anything else.
There you go. Good answer. I'm in the same boat. What do you enjoy doing that you may not often get the chance to do?
Going to the movies.
Okay. We'll have to hook you up. We have a couple theaters in our group. We have Marcus Theaters, AMC, Cinemark. I'll introduce you, and you guys get a partnership going, and you get some change off there.
Would love it.
Okay. Who inspired you to become the person you are today?
So my grandmother, as you know, being an Midwest gentleman, called her Mama, but she was just an amazing woman, very steadfast in her resolve and very strong-willed.
That's awesome. And last question, how do you want to be remembered by your friends and family?
Loyal.
There you go. Well, that's awesome. Vicki, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us today. It was great getting to know you and getting to know more about Club Applebee's and the date night program. You should send me one of those free kits. Kidding. The passion, kind of the sincerity you had, it was great to hear. We don't always get that, but it was a very refreshing interview and wasn't expecting that. So it brightens up my day for sure when we find someone who's as passionate and genuine as you. So that's great.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. And thank you everyone else for taking the time to listen. Make sure you join us back every Thursday for additional episodes of our Leaders in Customer Loyalty series. Until then, have a wonderful day.